His medal reads, presented to Alan Alda, actor, teacher, author, activist, director, producer. For a lifetime of creating human connections with a master actor's craft and extraordinary vision in illuminating the crucial role of communication in medicine and science. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. That's so kind. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful surprise this evening has turned out for me to be. When Sandra told us all what Arnold Gold said, how he ended his talks with a quote from my commencement talk at College of Physicians and Surgeons, I was really a little choked up. I usually get choked up when I hear myself quoted, but this was special. It's so moving to be a part of this great movement started by that amazing doctor who started with nothing. It really means to me, in the most vivid way, that one person, two people together can do something that changes the world. It's not true that it doesn't matter what one person does. There's a linkage among what we all do. Empathy and compassion are two different things. If you're inclined to be compassionate, empathy, knowing what's happening inside another person, whatever pain they're in or whatever feelings they have at all, that can tip you over into action, into compassion. And it's extremely important because without it, you might not act compassionately. You have to have an experience of what's going on inside them. And a lot of people think that you have the compassion you came in with, and it can't be learned. You can't get more compassion, but you can. Almost everybody can achieve more compassion. We train people at the Center for Communicating Science at Stony Brook, which has an incredibly brilliant staff and faculty, headed by Laura Lindenfeld, our director. And we're doing amazing things. We're bringing people to a greater ability at compassion. Helen Reese in Boston teaches compassion to doctors, and she documents it. We know it's possible to do. The improvisation we teach is using what I was lucky enough to figure out when I was on the science show, and that description you heard is what really happened. I realized that if I just listened, if I tried to understand what they were saying, what happened was it had an effect on the scientists talking to me. And the two of us had a conversation then. We were trading this back and forth, this awareness, this understanding. That was all the difference in the world. If I just asked them questions and that gave them the cue to go into a little mini lecture, it would have been dead. This way it was alive. And it was the same as acting, where you're on stage and you don't say your lines because you memorize them or because they're in the script. You say the next line because the other person makes you say it, because they do something or they say something, and you respond to it in a special way, a new way every time you hear it. And that acting experience, that interaction, really works in producing empathy, and that's been documented. A couple of researchers at Boston College thought actors have to get into the skin of another person. That's like empathy. That is empathy. They have to practice empathy to be able to perform. What if you taught acting techniques to students? Would they have more empathy at the end of that training? So they gave a bunch of students a standardized test for empathy. Then they gave them acting training. Then they gave them another standardized test for empathy, the same test, but now at a different time. And they showed significantly more empathy. And other studies have shown that improvisation training increases empathy. There's an effect that empathy has that's extraordinary. And I'm not just making that up. There was a study done an analysis of 127 studies that showed when a doctor exhibits empathy, listens, explains things, the patient is 19% more likely to follow the doctor's advice on medication, on exercise, diet, lifestyle. That's a big difference to me. It sounds to me like there's some life-saving going on in that 19%. I wrote some of these into notes, and I knew I'd get stuck here, so I'm going to take this out of my pocket, and I'm going to find out what I was going to say next. Because I got all my ad-libs written down here. Oh, yeah, you would have loved that. That was good. Yeah, aside from the 19%, people with diabetes showed better results, improved results with cholesterol and with the sugar levels. Flu patients got better sooner with empathy from the doctors. Even the common cold lasted less long than it would have without the empathy. But wait, there's more. The doctors are better off too. There was a study that showed that when doctors, senior doctors, are more empathic, everybody in the hospital is happier. And this isn't a trivial thing because the burnout rate among physicians is extremely high now. There's much more pressure, as the doctors in the room know, and probably even better, the spouses of the doctors in the room. There's less time to consult with patients. There's more note-taking on the computer when you don't even get a chance to look at the patient. And doctors are feeling emotionally exhausted. They have less of a feeling of accomplishment. They're burning out. And if I said that burnout rate was as high as 20 or 25%, that would be disastrous. It's really as high as almost 50%. 1 in 2 doctors are feeling this pressure to an extreme degree. Something has to be done. And we're doing something about it. Our team is going to have a session in New York that individual doctors, not whole organizations, but individual doctors can sign up for. It's in December. I urge you, if you're interested or if you know people in your medical school who could use this training to help them prevent burnout, look us up and see if you can arrange to come in December. But it's not just burnout that we have to be concerned with. It's the doctor-patient relationship, because the health benefits to the patient and the benefits to the physician are too great to ignore. We have to learn more about how to exercise empathy. There's just one more thing I want to say. I'm going to exercise a moment of empathy right now. I'm going to tell you what you're feeling, what you're going through right now. 67% of the people in the room are feeling, what's for dessert, for God's sake? Enjoy your dessert, and thank you so much for supporting the Gold Foundation.